See how this goes. The lighting's not the best today. I'm not completely set up for lives on YouTube, but okay, I'm live over on YouTube, guys. So if you're on here and you're planning on spending the next hour with me, and you happen to be somebody who uses YouTube, I'm testing out the live feature on YouTube. I just feel like the video aspect of what I do, I can't always rely on Instagram. My videos get deleted and censored. YouTube censors as well, but I started the YouTube channel and I'm just testing it out. So if you happen to be online right now, and maybe you have a computer or another way to connect in with me, check out the High Vibe Life channel. It's literally just started. I uploaded some old videos on there and now I'm going live, and I will post this there too. So if you're on and you want to help me out, going over to YouTube will really help me out. So I can just see if the comments come up and just test it out. I haven't actually even tested it yet. So kind of fun. Okay, let's get started, you guys. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Canadian Thanksgiving. It's Canadian Thanksgiving if you're in Canada. I understand that if you're American, it's not Thanksgiving till November, but it's Thanksgiving weekend here. So I've just been pondering on what I'm thankful for this last week, couple weeks actually. I've been really thinking about this topic because I think that 2020 has been a real shit show. I think we would all agree, right? And it's easy to get caught up in that. It's easy to get caught up in all that has been hard because there's been some hard stuff that's been thrown at us over the last 7 months. I can't even believe I'm saying that. 7 months, right? But I think, I've always been, obviously, if you guys follow me, I've always been a proponent of really expressing your gratitude, finding gratitude in the little things. I talk about this a lot. I did this a lot when my dad was dying. I would really look to what I was grateful for in those moments at that time. And I had such gratitude for so many things at that time in my life, which was such a hard time in my life, going through the death of my father and having to find gratitude in things when it felt like there was nothing to be grateful for. And throughout the last 5 years of my life, I have taken that practice on daily, right? I find things to be grateful for daily, and in situations when I'm in a really tough situation or I find myself getting frustrated, angry, scared, fearful, anxious, whatever the uncomfortable feeling is. It's just become this mindset or a habit that I have now where I will instantly look for the gratitude in something that feels really hard. And that has carried me through so much, in life. And so naturally, in this last 7 months, I have found myself stopping and giving gratitude at different, points of whatever was happening. If you've followed me since March, you know that I have questioned this whole thing from day one. From day one, I have had a gut feeling that something was not completely on the up and up. And I've really struggled at some times with having to deal with different aspects of it, right? Being told what to do, not aligning with certain people in my life, being afraid, having to deal with mom life while I'm trying to deal with pandemic life. So many things. There's been so many things that have been hard. And I always come back to, well, what am I grateful for at this time? What's good about this? So I wanted to share now because we're 7 months in, right? And if you, like me, have been paying attention and are also feeling like things are not quite right, or things are feeling difficult, or things are unnecessarily hard, then I wanted to just share with you today what the journey I've gone through, and how I find myself in a place where I'm actually feeling really happy about 2020 and really grateful for the hard lessons and really excited for what's to come because I know a lot of us are feeling scared right now, anxious maybe, um, uncertain of the future, maybe fearful. And I just wanted to share my journey, what my learnings have been, what I'm grateful for, what I foresee in the future, what I'm hopeful for, in the hopes that maybe I can inspire some of you. Okay. Because I know that sometimes I get on Instagram and I share my stories and I share uncomfortable truths, right? I know that about myself. I don't filter myself. I share what I'm feeling in the moment. I share my sarcasm. I share my rawness. I share my anger. I share whatever, right? I share my rage. I share my love. That's me. I'm unfiltered that way. And I make no apologies for that at all. But I know that sometimes, people watching might be like, whoa, this feels like a lot or this is too much. So I wanted to come on here today and really focus on the positive, and it's Thanksgiving, so why not? Okay. All right. So if you're just joining, I'll just repeat myself that I'm for the first time also streaming live over on YouTube, guys. So if you have the ability to switch over to YouTube and find the High Vibe Life channel and subscribe, I'm just testing it out. I want to see how it works. If you could comment while I'm live, comment over on YouTube. That will really just help me understand how it all works. So if you guys could do that for me, that would be amazing. And if you're watching the replay, thank you for watching the replay over on Instagram, but hop on over to my YouTube and hit the subscribe channel or hit the subscribe button and check out the channel. I've uploaded some old videos that are still relevant, and comment and just help me get a feel for how this works because I'm still learning as we go. Okay. And I apologize for the lighting. I'm going to work on the lighting for next time. I know the lighting's not the greatest today. All right, guys. So let me just grab my notes here. So why I'm thankful for 2020 and how to get to a place of calm and gratitude. Happy Thanksgiving, Case. Thanks for being here. So I already mentioned this, but one of the first things I guess that I'm grateful for in this time is, again, if you've been following since March, you'll know that as this all unfolded, in the middle of March, I think it was literally like the week of spring break. We were getting ready to go on a trip to Mexico for spring break, and all this was unfolding, and they were starting to, not close borders, but they were strongly suggesting people cancel trips and spring break and all of this. And I instantly, like my spidey senses were instantly tingling when this started. I still can't explain it. Like people still ask me, why did you still go to Mexico? Why have you questioned this from the beginning? And I don't have words for that. I can't explain in words why why my gut was telling me something doesn't feel right here. This doesn't, it feels like there's an exaggeration happening here. It feels like this isn't exactly what's going on. I can't really put into words, but all I can say is we went anyway, as you guys know, right? We went to Mexico anyway. While we were there, they did start shutting the borders down, and everybody was in a panic, and people were messaging us, telling us to come home. And we didn't. We stayed there for our whole trip. And I even had some not so nice messages in my DMs of people telling me I was being selfish or putting my children in harm's way, that we should hurry up and come home because we wouldn't be able to get home because the borders were going to be shut down. There's a lot of fear happening. And I just stuck to my guns, and I just stuck to my gut because my gut was telling me that we were exactly where we needed to be at that time. And I had educated myself and knew that we could get home as Canadians. When borders shut down, you can't not get home, right? Unless maybe you can't get home because there's a flight that's not going or whatever. But usually you are able to repatriate back to your own country. And I had done the research, and I had done the work, and I had done the diving and the digging, and contacted the airlines, and I knew exactly, where we were at situation wise, and I knew we'd be able to get home when we were supposed to get home. So that time in my life, I look back on that and I think to myself, I had a gut instinct, even though everybody was telling us to come home or not go in the first place. There's a lot of fear mongering going on at that time. You guys, that time in my life, I don't know that there's ever been another time when I have been more uh, contrasted, I guess would be the best way to explain this, where there's such a contrast between what my gut is telling me to do and what everybody else is saying. Because we all know, as women, as human beings, how that feels, that pressure of what everyone else is doing, right? Like, why would you do that? Everybody's doing this. I think we all know what that feels like. We've all been there. We've all been in situations where everybody's doing X and we want to do Y because our gut is telling us that's the best thing to do. And sometimes we give in to X just because we don't want to be the lone wolf or the black sheep or whatever. And I'm guilty of that as well. There's been many times I've ignored my gut. This is one of the times in my life where I went with my gut despite such a strong push by other people to do something different. And it turns out, for me anyway, for our family, my gut was right. Okay. We stayed in Mexico for the full 2 weeks. We got home on literally the last flight out of where we were flying out of. That was the last flight home for us. And even with that, I knew there was a chance we could miss that flight or something could go wrong and we might be stuck where we were. But I even had a backup plan for that. Like, I had figured out other ways for us to get home. So I had done the legwork. I understood what we were risking by staying the full 2 weeks. But my gut just told me that we didn't need to rush to get back, because by that point, if you guys know what my husband does for a living, we own businesses. We have a few locations here in the Lower Mainland that we had to shut down because we were not an essential business. So we were coming back to nothing. My husband didn't have to come back to work, and we knew we would have to quarantine when we got home. And so we were not in a rush to get home. And so my gut told me, you're fine here. You're safe here. You're good. You're going to be able to get home. And when you get home, there's nothing really to go back to. And when I got home, this whole time, I would say, looking back at that time in our life, it is one of the things I have gratitude for, is finally trusting my gut so deeply. Because all our lives, for some reason, especially women, we have gut instincts. We have motherly instincts. We have this like natural, innate talent and skill that tells us when something's off, or tells us when something is good, or things that these little spidey senses we have. And for our whole lives, sometimes we're taught to put that aside. We're taught to ignore how we really feel, or ignore our gut instincts, or ignore our motherly instincts, and maybe do something different because it's safer or more comfortable for other people. And that 2 weeks in March, where I was bombarded with people saying, what are you doing? Why are you on vacation? Do you know what's happening in the world? You should come home. The borders are being shut down. You're not going to be able to get home. All of that. And still, despite all of that, being able to stand strong and say, no, actually, my gut tells me that I'm in the right place right now. I have to say that's probably one of the biggest things I'm grateful for, is being reinforced and taught that our gut doesn't steer us wrong. I made the right decision for us at that time. And I'm so glad we did, because I don't know when we're going to be able to travel again the way things are going. We have no idea what's going to happen. I'm so grateful that I listened to my gut at that time. And so I would say that's kind of the first thing that I always look back and I always say, gosh, I'm so thankful for this. I'm so thankful that I was forced to really pay attention to my inside voice and my gut and my God given spidey senses and mommy instincts. And what happens when you follow your gut and it turns out that you made the right decision is you feel confident the next time you have to rely on that. And you continue to do it more and more. And that's what's going to serve us in this life, you guys, is listening to our gut instinct, not following what everybody else is doing, not listening to what the news is telling us or what random people on social media are saying. What serves us in this life is to get so connected into who you are and what matters to you and those gut instincts that you were given, right? That fight or flight, that response that you naturally know. Building that, it's so important. And I'm so grateful that I was tested with that at that time. And I kicked off this last 7 months with that. So if there's been something tugging on your heart in this last 7 months, and you have a gut feeling that something's not right, or you have a gut feeling that you want to maybe go in a direction, I'm going to talk about this later, but this has come up over and over for us, with choosing to homeschool and all these other things. And because I exercised it way back in March, I now am getting good at it. I'm getting good at listening to my gut and figuring out what's good for me and my family, what's really good for my kids, and being able to tune out everything and everyone else. And over, I'm reminded that I know what's best, right? I've talked about false idols and gurus and all that on my stories. And it's like, I don't need to listen to those people. I'm my own guru. I know what's best for me and my family and for my kids. And I've been exercising that. And it feels so good, you guys. So if you have been having that tugging on your heart as well, I encourage you to listen to it and pay attention. It's time to shut out all the other noise. Nobody knows what's best for you other than you. Nobody knows your kids better than you. Nobody knows your heart. Nobody knows your family. So I encourage everybody to pay attention to that. Okay. It's a beautiful skill to be able to cultivate. So I'm very grateful that I was given the opportunity to kind of express that early on in this last 7 months. What else am I grateful for? I am so grateful for the push for deep dives. Okay. I have spent many years being the question asker, wanting to understand things better, wanting to dive deeper into certain things. Anything I want to learn more about, I have no problem devoting time to it. But there are things I have dove deep into in this last 7 months that I otherwise would have never dove into, okay? I have watched, read, and listened to easily over 1,000 hours of podcasts, videos, reading papers, reading research, learning about things I never imagined I would be learning about. And I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for the push to do the deeper dives, and I'm sure anybody who follows this channel or this page, if you're in the same boat as me, where you've kind of been asking, like, wait a minute, what's really going on here? I want to learn more about this. That should be something you are grateful for, okay? That I've learned things in the last 7 months that I probably would never have learned in this lifetime had we not been in this particular situation. I've learned things about the environment, climate change, like things that seemingly have nothing to do with what's even happening now. I've ended up going down these rabbit holes where there was like, this is connected to this, and then I have to like research this, and I'm just so grateful for that. Like, I feel like if I'm coming out of this, just, I don't want to say wise, because I certainly don't want to sound like I'm all knowing. I mean, I've still so much to learn, but man, I feel like I got schooled this last 7 months. There's things I've learned about that I never knew before, and it's serving me well. I'm going to talk more about this at the end, but I've expressed that we've chosen to homeschool, and it's served me well even in my homeschool journey, because I'm able to take the things I'm learning and I think, gosh, how come nobody taught me this in school? How come I never learned this? Like, this is important information to have. And I'm able to now take that information and translate that even to homeschool to my kids and teach my kids things that I wish I would have learned back at elementary, because this is like life school. This is the important stuff, right? So I'm really grateful for that. It's given me a stronger desire to seek truth. That's the other thing this time has done. And I'm sure that many of you on here would agree. Who agrees with me? Throw me a heart if you feel this way. You start to really realize, I'm guilty of this myself, you guys. I always bash mainstream media, but up until not too long ago, and even still, I catch myself with this, where it's like, if you don't hear it on mainstream media, did it really happen? Right? Like, if you're not hearing about it on the mainstream, it's this time has really, my criticism of mainstream media, it is not, what's the word I'm trying to find here? I'm not like some person who's always known mainstream media didn't share truth, right? Like I've learned just how deeply they affect our thought process, right? I've learned this over time. Like even me, even still, like I don't watch the news anymore at all. But sometimes, like, I'll hear a big piece of news. Like, did you guys know, like, the CDC released the fatality rate of COVID this last, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago? And the numbers are just minuscule, you guys, right? Like, I mean, it's very comparable to the flu. Like, this is not a dangerous virus for a majority of people. And the numbers are just so obvious. And I found myself thinking, I wonder if the news, like, I wonder if this news is reporting this, or like, it was almost like my conditioning is so deep that even me, I catch myself going like, this must be all over the news. The news must be sharing this, or why aren't they sharing this if they're not, right? It's like I constantly need to be reminding myself that, of course, this isn't all over the news. Of course, they're not sharing this information, because this would destroy any of the other narrative, right? Of what's happening right now. So, of course, this isn't being shared on the news. This is only information you would find if you looked for it, or if somebody on your social media is sharing it, which is why they're censoring social media. So, for me, this desire to seek truth and really have to do the work, because that's what happens, right? You have to go from wanting to turn on the 6 o'clock news to hear what's happening in the world, to really putting in the work and having to look for your own statistics. Go to CDC website, go to the Worldometer website, go do your own research. It's like this deeper desire to seek truth. It takes work. It takes energy. And I'm not, I'm not sitting on any soapbox saying that I've always been that way. I haven't either. There was a time when I too just relied on the 6 o'clock news to give me my information. That's how I grew up. I grew up with my parents watching the news, and that's where you get where else do you get your information? How else do you know what's happening in the world, right? And they have corporate interests to protect, of course. Yeah, I think more and more people are starting to realize that, you guys, there was a time when journalists were unbiased completely. There was a time many years ago, right? Decades ago, where a journalist went to journalism school and was taught that your job is to report on what's happening. It's not to report it in a biased way. It's not to impress your own personal opinions. It really is to just report the news. It's to report what's happening. But that's not what's happening anymore. They're not just reporting what's happening. They're putting their own spin on it. They're choosing what they share. They're choosing what they share with you and how they share it. And it's not unbiased anymore. So I'm very grateful for this time that has really shown a light on what's truthful and what's not, and the fact that there's alternate motives and that there's corporate interests to protect. You guys, if you're on YouTube and you're watching, can you drop me a comment? I just want to see how the comment section works. So if I see that there's a few people watching on YouTube, I can't see who they are, but I would love if you would just throw me a comment, because this is my first time streaming live on YouTube, and I'm curious to see how the comment section works. So if you could do that for me, I would be so grateful. All right. You guys, never in my life have I been so uncomfortable. Okay, and we always hear from the teachers and the coaches and the people who inspire us to be better that growth comes from discomfort. So I'm really grateful for being forced to be uncomfortable this last 6-7 months. We have been forced, essentially, almost, right? Like maybe not physically forced, but we've had businesses shut down. We've not been able to go to the park. You have to put on a mask everywhere you go. So many things have been imposed upon us that have felt really uncomfortable and hard. There's been times when I'm just like, this is hard. I've cried, I've wept for the future, I've been uncomfortable. But when I look back on it, I'm grateful for it, because growth comes from discomfort. So again, if you're watching this right now and you're kind of feeling hopeless, or you're feeling like, what does the future hold? Or you're feeling like you don't like feeling uncomfortable, you don't like the new normal. I hate that term, but I think it's good to sit in discomfort. I think it's good to feel uncomfortable, because that's where the growth happens, right? It's when you get really uncomfortable with things that are being done and said, that's where the growth happens. I always say that on Instagram. I know I share stories that make people uncomfortable. I know I share things that people are like, oh, I don't want to hear that, or that's uncomfortable for me. But that's where the growth happens. You guys, I follow accounts that I don't agree with. I purposely have accounts that I follow that I don't really get them. I don't really get their perspective. I don't really get their opinions. I don't really get their political viewpoint. I don't agree with them, but I follow them anyway. And I allow myself to read what they're writing and hear what they're saying, because it makes me uncomfortable. Because I seek to always understand viewpoints that are different than my own. And B, I know that being uncomfortable is when I'm going to grow. I need to be uncomfortable, right? It's like going to the gym. Lifting a 3-pound weight for most people is not uncomfortable. It's easy to do. But guess what? You're not going to get big biceps with that either, right? It's the sweat, the tears, the blood, the heavy breathing, the working past the point of comfort that usually brings that growth for people. And that goes for both physical and emotional. So I am really grateful for being pushed into this place of discomfort in this last 6 to 7 months, because it has forced me to step outside of that comfort zone and grow. So I'm really grateful for that. I'm really thankful for that. And if there's something you're thankful for while I'm rattling all these things off, please share. I truly believe that when we speak our gratitude out loud and put it out into the universe, it raises our vibration and it brings back more goodness. So if you have something that you're grateful for, please share it. Okay, I am really thankful for the awakening in education. I've kind of already touched on this in terms of learning about things that I've never thought about learning. Okay. VPXM, somebody's sharing. Thank you so much for commenting. I'm testing out YouTube today, so you're commenting and I really appreciate it. Thank you for your comments. Oh, I got another comment. Okay. Oh, this is so cool, you guys. I'm testing out YouTube for the first time. So thank you guys for commenting over on YouTube. I see your comments coming through. It's so awesome. So I have been put into this place, you guys, of learning about things I never imagined learning about, okay? And I want to share this with you guys today. So I got, I don't know if you guys can see this. This is a ledger, okay? This is a cryptocurrency ledger. And I've learned, I started learning about cryptocurrency about a year ago, just a little here and there. I'm not an expert by any stretch of the imagination. But in this last 6-7 months, I've been diving more into learning about cryptocurrency, gold, silver, Black Lives Matter and Black Lives, Trump, Trudeau, politics, policies, executive orders, Republicans, Democrats, liberals, conservatives. Like, I have child trafficking, right? All these little things that I knew a little bit about and didn't really ever think that it was something I needed to learn more about. But in this last 6 to 7 months, I have been diving super deep into learning more about these things, like really deep, okay? And so I learned about, I've learned about cryptocurrency. And if you guys have heard me talking about cryptocurrency, I don't really know what's going to happen with cryptocurrency in the future. I'm still trying to figure out whether it's good or bad or what, but I am starting to dabble into it a little bit and learn more about it. I'm going to share with you what this is. I'm going to share with you a little bit about this, but my point is that had this last 6 to 7 months not happened, I would have never learned about cryptocurrency, I don't think. You guys, I never really got into investments or stocks or the stock market. I'm not interested in that stuff. It doesn't interest me at all. But now all of a sudden it's like, okay, I'm hearing about cryptocurrency over and over, and that this might be the way of the future. And they're talking about Jacera and Nacera, and like, if you guys haven't heard about that, I encourage you to go learn more about it. They're talking about wealth transfer and global economic reset, and changing the way we back our money. Our money used to be backed by gold. Now it's backed by nothing. So it's essentially worthless. Moving back to a gold-backed dollar. Like, you guys, these are things I didn't know anything about. And this is what I was saying earlier on, that we should learn these things in school, and we don't. So guess what? I'm learning, and now I'm teaching my kids about it. Like, it's so cool, right? I've got some comments. I was on Instagram and came here on your call to action. Thank you so much, Go Indie Now. Crypto might turn into full real credits in the future. Exactly. And actually, if I understand this correctly, it kind of already is. There's certain cryptocurrencies that are being accepted in certain markets. So people are saying, if you have cryptocurrency like Monero, you can use that to pay. So I'm learning more about it. This is something I never would have learned about. 99% of people I know don't know anything about it. My husband knows nothing about cryptocurrency. I'm learning about it, and it feels so empowering, right? It feels so empowering to learn about something you know nothing about. Do you guys remember, okay, I'm turning 45 next week, okay? Friday's my 45th birthday. I have lived through a time where most of my young life, I didn't have the internet. There was no such thing as email. There was no such thing as like, I got Facebook when I was 32, you guys, okay? Like 2007 was when most people got Facebook, right? I lived through elementary, high school, university for the most part with no internet, no email. Who knew, like, the amount of the way technology has advanced? If you have lived through this time, you know that we have lived through the greatest technological advancements of any generation. We've literally gone from a time of, like, I used to have to get up and change the channel on the TV like this, literally, like no remote control, to having TV that you can talk and change a channel. I mean, it's crazy, right? So we've lived through this. And I remember, if you guys listen to Gary Vaynerchuk, if anybody here listens to Gary Vaynerchuk, he's the same age. And he talks about how he started his dad's business, I think it was called, he started Wine Library, right? His dad owned a liquor store, and then Gary Vaynerchuk basically just took uh, his knowledge of the budding internet at that time and started something called Wine Library. And he's grown this business, like this multi-million, billion-dollar business over the last however many years. And he was like literally a teenager when he started that, right? He was, or it's the early 20s, 18, 19, 20, I think. And when I listen to him talk, I think to myself, if I had only been that aware when I was that age, I had no clue what the internet was or what this would bring for us or what this meant for the future. And had I only, right? Like I only just started a blog 8 years ago. Literally 8 years ago, I started a blog. And even that, a lot of people started blogging way before that. So I was kind of like behind the curve, right? And now I look at something like cryptocurrency and I think to myself, okay, cryptocurrency is like the internet of the, you know, we're in 2020. So the new millennium, it's like, if we can get onto cryptocurrency and understand it better and understand how to leverage it and understand how this might benefit us in the future, this could be a really great thing. And so I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for the knowledge that I've been forced to acquire, because like the internet, when I was in my early 20s, I wasn't paying attention. I had no idea how it would take over the world. I had no clue. I didn't leverage it. I didn't understand it. And so now I'm just so grateful that I'm pushed into a place where I'm kind of forced to learn about something like cryptocurrency, which I think could potentially be the wave of the future, or maybe it's not. I don't know, but at least I'm aware of it, and I'm really grateful for that. 45, don't look it. Yeah, I thank you. I get that a lot. It's my holistic, healthy lifestyle. I always talk about healthy skin and anti-aging comes from the inside out. I was the TV remote for my father for the first 7 years of my life. Yes, exactly, right? It's like right? There was a time when we had to literally change the channel like this. So it's crazy. So I'm really grateful for being forced into this time. There's so many things that have happened, you guys, you know, the political movements, the rioting, the protesting, the Black Lives Matter. I have dove so deep. I go beyond BLM. Okay. I had to dive deep to really understand what BLM is. And I needed to do the shadow work and do the work of understanding that. And I'm not going to get into that because I know that's very political for some people, but let's just say I'm doing the work. And I shared a couple of books that I read, you know, in the last couple of months in my stories today. So please share those. Okay. Please read the books and share that with people, because people really need to understand what this whole Black Lives Matter thing is really all about. If you truly think Black Lives Matter, right? I've talked about this before. BLM, the movement, versus actually Black lives. If you really care about Black lives and you really want to understand what they've gone through and what they've dealt with, please do the work. There are a lot of people out there who would disagree with what is being done under the Black Lives Matter moniker. Okay, there are a lot of Black people out there who do not support that. So I'm not going to get in political. I'm not going to get into this. Black Lives Matter was a psyop. Yeah, a lot of people think it doesn't have good intentions. Okay, so I'm not going to tell you guys what to think, but I do think that people should do your own homework and decide for yourself. Okay, but everything is not as it seems. So anyway, I am thankful for being forced to deep dive into these things and do the kind of work that you would have to do if you were in school. Like I've literally done like a university level, you know, I feel like I've really gotten educated on these topics, and I encourage everybody to do that. Go learn the things that we probably should have learned in school, but we never did. You know, the veil starts to come off, the facade, the mask, so to speak, right? This is all getting pulled away. And if you really want to contribute to this planet and you really want to understand what's happening, it might feel really uncomfortable. And I think a lot of people are going to be shocked when they start to see that everything is not as it seems. Everything we've been taught, everything we've been learning in school, it's not accurate, right? You start to learn, hey, wait a minute, maybe that's not really how things are. So I encourage everybody to go do your own homework and learn. I think we all need to do that and contribute to the raising of consciousness on this planet right now. That's what we need. We need an awakening. We need a raising of consciousness. We need people to understand what's really going on. What else am I grateful for? You guys, the social connections, okay? How many of you have spent the last however many years of your lives being friends with people, faking relationships, putting too much energy into people who you have nothing in common with? Oh my God. I can tell you that one of the biggest gifts in my life this last 6-7 months has been meeting more like-minded people through social media, through other things that I've gotten involved with, and stepping away from people who I have nothing in common with, okay? Or those people stepping away from me, right? I was having this conversation today with somebody in my DMs about the follower situation on social media. I've lost a lot of followers from speaking my truth and saying what I believe. But guess what? I kind of like it. Okay. I use Instagram for business. I use social media for business. I use it to show my product, talk about my podcast, talk about essential oils, living a holistic lifestyle, selling programs. And when I have people start following me who are not completely aligned with me, I don't necessarily want them to spend money in my business. I don't advocate for that, okay? I personally only spend money in businesses that I'm aligned with. I shouldn't say only, but for the most part, right? If I have to pay a little extra for a skincare product, but that person who sells it is aligned with my values and viewpoints, I'm happy to spend money in her business. And I want that for myself. So I'm perfectly happy with losing followers and having only those people who truly want to hear what I have to say left. I'm okay with that. And that also goes for real life. That goes for social connections, friendships, relationships. I'm all about connecting with like-minded people. And so through this time of sharing what's on my heart regularly, I do the Sunday school, I show up on social media, I share my thoughts. In this time, there's been people who don't like what I have to say, or they don't agree with me, or they're offended by me, or whatever, and they've stepped away. And that's okay with me. I appreciate that, and through that, I've also attracted more people with like minds. Not to say that I only ever want to surround myself with like minds. No, not at all. Like I mentioned, I purposely follow people I don't agree with because I want to learn. I want to be open-minded. I want to be uncomfortable. I want to learn more about things I know nothing about. But in the same token, it's like, gosh, I'm so grateful that I don't have to like fake it with people, right? I'm so grateful that I want to be able to go out for dinner and talk about what's happening right now without somebody attacking me or feeling like we're not on the same page, So this time from a social connection standpoint, man, like I joke that there's some people like I'm going to have to socially distance from forever. And I'm okay with that. So I'm very grateful. I've talked about the pressure that has come with this time. It's like we're all in this pressure cooker. Sorry, guys. We're all in this pressure cooker. And I've talked about how This time has literally squeezed us so tight that our insides are coming out. That's what's happening. It's like the juice is being squeezed out of us, and we get to see what people are really made of, including ourselves. So this last 7 months for me has been such a journey. Like, I have been squeezed until my insides came out. So if you've been following me and you hear me sharing like the raw and how I'm feeling, and sometimes I'm raging and sometimes I'm joking and sometimes I'm sarcastic and sometimes I'm in love, that's me. You're experiencing me in like real time. You get to see my insides, right? You're seeing the juice coming out of me, of like what I'm really made of and what's really happening. And I've seen that in others too. And I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful that it's come out of me. And I'm grateful to be able to see what people are really made of. Because if you guys have noticed, there's been some false idols out there that we've been admiring or have allowed to inspire us. And their insides are coming out and they're kind of ugly. Okay. I've been noticing there's a lot of gurus and yoga leaders and spiritual teachers that many of us look up to. And now I'm seeing what they're really made of, and I'm realizing, I don't know that that's somebody that I want to follow or take advice from. So I'm very grateful for this time for that, for squeezing all of us so tight that we get to see what we're all really made of. I'm so grateful for that. Like, there's very few times in life when this will happen that you'll be forced to show who you really are. And we're seeing that. We're seeing athletes, celebrities, gurus, influencers. We're seeing what they're really made of. You know, some people are getting really political, and it's like, oh, I didn't realize that you were a political person. That's not why I follow you. Not to say I think it's wrong to get political, but it's not what somebody says. It's maybe that they spoke up about a certain thing and they're telling you how to think. I think that's what I have an issue with. When people start telling me what to think and how I should feel about something, I have an issue with that. So I think it's fine when you have your own opinion, but when you push it on other people in that way, I think we need to all kind of step back and go, how do I really feel about this? Right? So I'm really grateful for this time for really showing what people are made of. I am so grateful for being shown what matters and what doesn't. Okay. You guys, I'm the girl who loves to watch TV. I love The Bachelor, Real Housewives, Big Brother, reality TV. Never in a million years would I have ever imagined canceling my cable or, anything like that. And in this last 6-7 months, I've spent so much time diving deep down the rabbit hole. I've lost so much respect for the people that I used to idolize. I don't even want to say idolize, but things that I used to really love to watch or have an opinion on, they suddenly matter no more. Honestly, it's crazy. But I canceled cable 2 months ago, 3 months ago. I haven't looked back since at all. And I don't know that had we not gone through this time that I would have ever done that. Okay. I was so sick of turning on my TV and seeing Justin Trudeau's face everywhere. And I was just spending so much time diving into what's really happening and learning everything I've already talked about that I realized I wasn't even watching TV anymore. Okay. So I canceled cable. Haven't looked back. Sports. Don't miss it. Same with my husband. Okay. All these celebrities, the actors on TV, even the athletes are actors, right? We look to these false idols for something that really we need to find within ourselves. And this time has really pushed me to do that. And I'm so grateful for that. Okay. I would be happy if professional sports never came back. I'd be okay with that. Okay. And I don't mean any harm to somebody's, livelihood or way of making money. But I just personally believe that there's so many more important things in life, and I'm so grateful to be shown that I'm totally fine with not having those things. I'm super grateful for the new connection that I've been able to build with my kids through the time that we have been forced to spend together and through the decision that we made to homeschool. Deciding to homeschool our kids was a very tough decision. It didn't come easy, and I'm not going to get into why we decided to homeschool. I've talked about that before. We're not afraid of the virus, but I'm definitely afraid of all the other brainwashing and propaganda that's being pushed on our children right now. And I just didn't want them in the system. Okay. And so I decided to pull them out and homeschool. I run a business. I'm busy. I enjoy my me time. I enjoy time to myself. But I decided to give that up to homeschool my children. And I don't know, I've considered homeschool for a long time. We always have talked about homeschooling our kids. I've been looking into homeschool since my kids were, before they even went to school. But I always felt like I was too selfish to homeschool. I didn't have enough patience. I liked my time to myself. And this time has shown me, when push came to shove and I had to like put my money where my mouth was and I decided to homeschool my kids, I stepped up. And I'm proud of myself for doing that. And it's not easy, but it has been a joy. We are all enjoying it. It's not easy every day, but I'm grateful for it. And if they go back to school next year, if things do go back to normal and we decide to do that, then that'll be great. This will have been a great experience. And maybe we'll just love it so much that we'll keep going. I don't know how it's going to turn out, but had this not happened, we would have never chosen to homeschool just on our own like this. So the fact that we did that, it's because of what's happening, and I'm really grateful for that, and I have deep, deep gratitude. And then as we kind of near the end of all the things I'm grateful for, and remember, I'm sharing this to get you guys thinking. I want you guys to think about what you're grateful for at this time, because it's so easy to dive into 2020 is a crappy year. What the hell is going on? I hate 2020. Wake me up when it's 2021. But I think it's important to really appreciate what we're going through, because it's a teaching, right? This is our version of homeschool. Like we're learning things we should have learned a long time ago. We're being forced to be uncomfortable. We're being forced to grow. We're being shown where our true friendships and relationships and allies lie. We're being forced to learn things we never would have learned before. So I think it's important to take a moment and really just have appreciation and gratitude for that. So for me, it's all of these things and more. And I especially am grateful for how deep I've had to dive, and it's forced me to be prepared, right? How many of you on here are also diving deep yourselves and realizing this isn't just going to end? There's no end game here. Like they keep moving the goalposts. It's like it was 2 weeks to flatten the curve, and now it's been 7 months and we're counting cases. I mean, anybody who's paying even a little bit of attention can see there's something not right here, whether you're on this end of the spectrum or this end of the spectrum of how deep you think this lie goes. There are people who completely are fully bought into it, and then there are people who are like kind of bought into it, but they're like they believe COVID is real, but they also believe it's being exaggerated. And then there's people who don't believe COVID is real at all. I mean, there's all ends of the spectrum, but at this point, I think most people, if you're paying attention even a little bit, you're going to go, okay, everything's not making sense here. So I think that when you start to think, yeah, everything's not making sense, when you start to kind of have that light bulb go off, then from there, you can start to prepare yourself a little bit. Like, okay, everything's not making sense. Things are not necessarily happening the way they said they were going to happen. They keep moving the goalposts, right? I remember like about a month or two ago, I was amongst a group of people who were talking about Christmas and Christmas parties, like having an office Christmas party. And I just laughed and I was like, you actually think that the Christmas parties are still going to be happening? Like you're crazy if you think that. And the reason I know that's not happening is because I'm paying attention to what's happening. And I recognize that there's probably not going to be Christmas parties this year. And sure enough, what have they done now here in British Columbia? Well, you can't have more than 6 people sitting at a table for dinner. Restaurants have to shut down at 10 o'clock. So, of course, there's no holiday parties happening, right? So, I mean, I called that and I was prepared for it. So, for me, I'm just grateful for the ability to just be emotionally and physically prepared for what's to come. We know this isn't just about a virus. We know there's so much more going on. This is connected to such a grand operation of so many things, right? This is connected to the US election. This is connected to a much, much larger agenda. And if you understand that, then you're prepared for what's to come. You're going to be learning about cryptocurrency. You're going to maybe stock up on some food. You're going to be prepared that you might not be able to travel properly for a while. You're going to be prepared that it could be a year or two of madness, right? So I'm grateful that I was forced to dive deep earlier so that now I'm actually in a place of calm. That's how I got to this place, you guys. And if you're feeling scared right now, or you're in a place where you're not sure what's coming, or you're not sure what's ahead, or you're terrified, I encourage you to start learning what's happening and then understanding we are in a spiritual war right now. Okay? We're in a spiritual war. The light is being shown on the darkness. And there are a lot of things coming to the surface that need to come to the surface. And people are starting to wake up. People are starting to see what's happening, the corruption. How many of you have ever heard so much about child trafficking in your lives? We have heard more about child trafficking than ever before. This is a good thing. Okay? Human trafficking has been going on for years. Nobody talks about it. Mainstream media doesn't talk about it. No attention is paid. And now suddenly everyone's talking about it. That's just a small example. So there is a light that is shining down on the things that are dark that has needed to happen for so long. Okay? So I think this is a good thing. And this spiritual war, this is a raising of consciousness. This is people going, you hear about the 3D to 5D. We're going to go from a black and white world of sleepy people who just do what everyone says. Nobody's really paying attention. Everyone's just following what mainstream media says. We're being poisoned through our medicine, our food, our minds. And we're moving into this raised consciousness, this 5D consciousness where people are awake and aware and paying attention, and they care more about what they're putting in and on their bodies, and they're holistically treating themselves emotionally and physically, and they're in tune with what's going on in the world, and they really care about who their political leaders are and what they're involved with. Like, that's the 5D, the better world, the utopia, right? Less disease, illness, sickness, hatred, more love, light, health, autonomy, body autonomy, feeling like you can live freely, like we're sovereign beings. We deserve to move freely and live freely. And we're living in a time when we're being told how to live, what to do, what to put on our faces. It's crazy, right? So I do believe this is a spiritual war, and we're moving to a much more enlightened, highly conscious place. And I follow a lot of spiritual teachers who say this was necessary to happen. We are moving into a more beautiful place. But the people who can't go from 3D to 5D, the people who refuse to examine truth, the people who refuse to open their minds, the people who are just waiting for a vaccine that's going to save everything. Sadly, those people might be left behind. right? They might be left behind in 3D. They might not make it. They might not make it through this time in a healthy way. So we can't really think about that anymore. What we have to focus on is creating the new. What kind of world do we want to live in? And who do we want to bring with us? And that's why people like me share, and we share what we're grateful for, and we share what the truth is, and we share all the things on my Instagram stories, right? I share all of it because anybody who wants to learn, I'm sharing for you. And if you're somebody who's like stuck in your way of thinking and you don't want to learn, that's cool too, right? And you're going to have to stay where you are. You're not going to be able to move forward. And I think that's what this time is all about. And I'm actually really grateful for that. I'm grateful for this time to start to raise that consciousness and start to bring us to this new place. I do think it's going to be hard, you guys. Okay. Like, I think things are going to get crazy this month. The election's coming up. It might be worse for some people in certain parts of the world. I think in the US, there's going to be certain places where things are going to get worse. Look at Australia right now. Look at parts of Australia. I mean, they're like under martial law. You know, it's crazy what's happening there. Look at Quebec in Canada. Some of the laws that they've implemented there. Maybe they're not laws. Maybe there's mandates, but being able to go into people's homes and check on them, like, it's insane. And I think it's going to get more insane. I think things are going to get worse before they get better. But if you understand what's happening and you understand the time that we're in and you understand the spiritual war that we're in and you understand what the purpose of all of this is, which is to go through the really, really hard to get to the other side, then you can kind of just buckle down and like be excited for that, right? A lot of people will say, we don't need a better world. Our world is great the way it is. And that's cool if you think that. I've always kind of felt like things could be better. I've always kind of felt like this isn't how life is meant to be lived. You know, the way our governments are set up, the corruption that happens, the evil in the world. I don't believe this is how God, the universe, the higher power, whatever you believe in, I don't believe that that's how we're meant to live. I believe that this world and this life can be better, more enlightened, happier, more positive, more joyful. It can be a place without disease, without cancer, without illness. I truly believe that's how life is meant to be. And I think right now we're going through a pure awakening, a true time of just going through the hard and like pulling back those layers of all the really hard things to get to that better place. And I have no idea. I don't have a crystal ball. I have no clue like how long this is going to last. I don't think it's going to be over right after the US election. I think, you know, I'm preparing myself to maybe not even see my family at Christmas time. I hope that doesn't happen, but I'm prepared. I'm kind of like hope for the best, prepare for the worst. That's where I'm at. And this could go on for 6 months. This could go on for a year. But you know what I mentioned earlier? I'm going to end off by explaining what this is to you guys. But stuff like this, being prepared, you could really take advantage of this time and come out on the other side so abundant, emotionally, physically, financially, if you start to pay attention to what's really going on. I already mentioned Nasera Jacera, which refers to, you know, a world reset. I don't know if you guys know this, but personal taxes are illegal, right? This is something that's been happening for years and no one's questioned it, where the government like taxes our income, which is actually technically not legal. And so there's possibly a time coming when all that is reversed and changed from a financial economic perspective. There's talk that this could happen, right? There's talk that this global reset could come into play and money would be backed by gold again and debts would be eliminated. I don't know if that's true. I hope it's true. And if it's not, then whatever. But imagine if it is. Right? Imagine if that's the time that's coming for us. So I think that just being aware of all this is really important. A return to a holistic lifestyle, right? Like, I mean, there's a whole way of life before modern medicine came along of, natural solutions and holistic living and eating healthy and not having to pay extra for food that's not poisoned and not covering our bodies in toxic chemicals and all of that. And I envision a beautiful time when we can get back to that and have less disease and less illness because we're not being poisoned by our governments anymore. So I don't know. I have all these things I'm super grateful for. I'm really excited about the idea of moving from this like 3D realm to 5D, of a rising in consciousness, of being around more people who really get what's going on. I feel really hopeful. I feel hopeful for the future, but I do think it's going to be a bumpy road for another little bit. And I think everyone should be prepared. Okay, so before I end off, I'm just going to end off by explaining what this is to you guys. I got some comments here. US elections will get dragged out because their laws conflict with what they need to do. Yeah, I wonder about that too. Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be, we're already October, I think it's October 10th today. Yeah, it's 3 weeks from the US election. I think it's going to get really interesting. I don't know. Anything could happen. Be prepared for anything. Anything could happen. Okay, guys, before I end off, I just want to share what this is with you guys. So I've been learning about cryptocurrency. I'm not going to dive into that tonight about what it is. I encourage everybody to look into it. And if this is something that you want to learn more about, go look it up, Google it, buy a book. I've been just doing my own research. Basically, cryptocurrency is another form of currency, right? And there's tons of coins, like crypto coins out there that you can invest in that, you can buy a coin for like pennies. And if it's just like, I don't want to say it's just like stocks, but similar to stocks, this is something you would invest in. And if tomorrow that coin raises in value, well, you just made some money, right? So if you bought 10 coins of something at 25 cents, and then like tomorrow, those coins jump up to $1, worth $1 each, you just quadrupled your investment, right? So a lot of people think cryptocurrency is the wave of the future because cryptocurrency is part of a quantum financial system. It is a currency, and actually the whole quantum system is a way of the future that is encrypted for safety and privacy and speed. So for instance, if I want to send money to India, right now, if I wanted to send $1,000 to India, it would probably take like a week. Right? It takes time to go through the proper channels and the proper financial systems and the banks and all of that for it to be approved on both sides and all of that. A quantum system that's done all digitally would make it so that you could literally send money like this. Okay, that's just a small example. There's a privacy and a security to cryptocurrency, to buying, selling, investing, making purchases, where there's like a multitude of systems and computers and technology involved. Somebody just said yes to speed, but not privacy. Even VPNs are not totally private. Yeah, and you might know more about this than I do. Based on the research I've done, my understanding is that no one's been able to crack that quantum system so far. I heard the US government is offering money to people to crack the system and that they're not able to do it. So I haven't dove, like I said, full disclosure, I haven't dove super, super deep. I'm still learning, but it is definitely a more secure and private system than what we have right now. And anyways, it's kind of a thing to invest in, because it might be the wave of the future, right? And you guys, we are already in a digital system, okay? Like, we pay through debit, you pay with your phone, you can scan your Apple, whatever, like Apple Pay, or pay through PayPal. Like, we're already digital in a way. Cryptocurrency is just kind of like another step forward. So you can invest in the crypto just like you invest in stocks. And this is a ledger, which is also known as a digital wallet. So this is where you would keep your cryptocurrency. So where you would have a physical wallet that you put your cash into, or you have a bank card that tells you how much money you have in the bank. That's like your digital bank card, bank wallet. A ledger is where you keep your cryptocurrency. So if I go onto my crypto database right now and I buy cryptocurrency, or I own a certain amount of funds, what I do is I download that onto here so that it can't be hacked. I have a physical wallet of where I'm keeping my digital investment. Okay, so this purchase felt really kind of special and fun to me because this is something I've empowered myself to learn more about and do. And I'm finally investing in cryptocurrency. And I bought myself this digital wallet that I'm going to download my investments onto. A lot of people just have one. So I did the Ledger Nano X, which is like the dual hardware set. So it's got the actual hardware wallet, and then you've got a backup. So in case there's a fire, right? So you would keep one wherever, and then maybe you would keep another one somewhere else. So that's just like a really brief description of what that is. And this is something that I'm really excited to just keep diving into and learning more about. I follow a bunch of people. Like if you want to learn more about, there's some great people to follow and great books you can read. I love listening to the Rich Dad channel. He talks about crypto sometimes. Crypto Casey is a great one to learn from. Okay, on YouTube. She's a female. I love learning from other females too. So she's a really great one that talks about cryptocurrency and has some great YouTube videos about the basics. So if anybody's interested in learning more about this, I just encourage you to dive in and start learning. Watch a one video every day. VPXM, you seem to know a little bit about crypto here. So if you have suggestions, please share. But yeah, guys, so that was it. Okay. Like I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for the awakening this last 6 months. I'm so grateful for the awareness. I'm so grateful for being pushed into a place of discomfort. I'm so grateful for being pushed into a place where I had to learn more, share truth. I've cried, I've laughed, I've been forced to teach my kids things I didn't ever think I would have to teach them about. And I'm grateful for all of that. So it's Canadian Thanksgiving, and I just felt the urge to come on here and share that with you guys in the hopes that you too will start to seek what you're grateful for in this time and be grateful for what's to come. I do think we are going to get through this next 6 to 12 months more bumpy. But I do think that on the other side, there lies like a really beautiful time. That's what I hope for anyways. I'm hopeful for that. So I encourage everybody to be in that place. Keep your vibe high. Don't apologize. Don't apologize for the comments. I really appreciate you being on here. And I hope that as I grow the YouTube channel, we'll have more live commenting. So thank you guys so much for joining me tonight for Thanksgiving, Canadian Thanksgiving. And yeah, I want to leave you with that. I want to leave you with that thought that things are going to get worse before they get better. But I do think on the other side of this, we're going to enter into like a really beautiful new world. And that's what I hold hope for. And that's where I try to keep my thoughts. And I've empowered myself with knowledge, so I feel prepared. So I'm not scared. I'm prepared. Don't be scared. Just be prepared. Yeah, that's it. All right, guys. Next weekend, like I already mentioned, is my birthday weekend. I don't think I'm going to do a Sunday school. I have a busy weekend. We've got a rally that we're doing here. I've got a lot of things going on next weekend, so I'll probably be back in 2 weeks for Sunday school. But if I change my mind or something changes or I move the day, I'll let you guys know. All right, you guys. Happy Canadian Thanksgiving. Go kiss your kids, kiss your family. Go tell somebody you love what you're grateful for. Have a super evening and a super long weekend if you're in Canada, and we'll see you guys next time. All right? I'm going to sign off here on Insta. And then I'm going to sign off on YouTube. Thanks, guys, for being on YouTube with me and helping me test out my new channel. Have a super weekend.